Good morning, folks. Mike Starks with Personal Trainer Food. Today we're going to talk about one of the hottest debated items in the medical world, and that's cholesterol. For the last 25 years, we've been sold a lot of statins, a lot of different information that oftentimes is confusing, expensive, and sometimes frustrating. For the last 8 years, I've studied cholesterol on and off, and by no means am I a doctor, but I've come to a lot of interesting facts that I think is worth your time, and some of the things we're going to illustrate and talk about today. Now, before I get started, I do want to mention that I have found that 98% of the world, we're pretty much built the same. We have a heart, we have a brain, we have blood in us. 1% of us is genetically blessed in that you can smoke 10 packs of cigarettes a day and drink 3 bottles of whiskey and still live to be 110. And then there's 1% that I call the genetically cursed, where they may have 1 cigarette and then get lung cancer. So just know when I talk about cholesterol, I'm really talking about the general population. And I've come to believe that diet really is 95% of the battle when it comes to heart disease, because that's what cholesterol is all about. For the last 35, 40 years, doctors have warned us about heart disease, and it's actually not heart disease, but it's artery disease. What happens when you have a heart attack is you basically have one of your arteries that gets blocked, and blood cannot get through it, and so your heart ends up having a heart attack. Really artery disease that we're concerned about when we talk about cholesterol. Now, the history of cholesterol, in the 70s, we focused on the total cholesterol number, or the count. So you would hear people, my parents would run around asking their friends, hey, what's your cholesterol? And they'd throw out a number, it's 300. So we used this one total number, and doctors finally discovered that total cholesterol count really didn't mean much when it came to heart disease or heart attacks. So in the late 80s, in the mid to late 80s, the medical community started breaking up HDL, which is your good cholesterol, and the LDL, which is bad cholesterol. If you had a high HDL count and a low LDL count, then your chances of heart disease were reduced. Well, recently they have found that those numbers aren't too accurate anymore, and about 10 years ago they started defining some cholesterol as pattern A and pattern B, otherwise known as ApoA or ApoB. B is for bad, it's for bad for me, but that's how I remember it, and A is the good. So what I'm going to explain today is what the difference is between pattern A and pattern B, and that if you are concerned about cholesterol or heart disease, you can go to your doctor and tell them you want an ApoA test or an or a pattern A test. In the 70s, they started creating statins that would reduce total cholesterol. They were a huge success. In the 80s, they started creating statins that would help raise your good cholesterol and lower your bad cholesterol. As a matter of fact, around the turn of the century, around 2000 up to about 2010, statins outsold cell phones in the United States. It was huge, huge business. So there was a lot of money at stake. I think the statin companies and the drug companies now have a dilemma because pattern A and pattern B cholesterol, there's nothing that they can do about it. The only way that you can improve your pattern A or your pattern B and build on your pattern A cholesterol is through diet. But let me show you basically what pattern A and pattern B is, and we'll talk about heart disease real quick. Imagine we're looking at an artery, and this is the cutoff view of an artery. Pattern A, which is your good cholesterol, basically has cholesterol serum that's built up in your artery wall. And the difference is that pattern A is like a bunch of balloons that's very soft that you can put your hand through. So pattern A, if it builds up in your artery walls, it allows blood to go through and it won't cause a heart attack, or it won't block your artery. Now pattern B is a little different. Pattern B, instead of being the soft, bubbly, cloud-like balloons that allow the blood to go through, pattern B is rock-hard, very dense cholesterol buildup. Imagine a pile of rocks. If you tried to put your fist through a large pile of rocks, it wouldn't go through. That's what pattern B is, or the bad cholesterol. So pattern B is whenever you get built up on this pattern B, that's what blocks your artery, and that's what causes a heart attack. What they've discovered over the last 15 years or so is that pattern B is the cause of around 75 or 80% of the heart attacks that are out there have resulted from pattern B cholesterol. And what creates pattern B buildup? Well, to our surprise, it's not saturated fat, like we've been told the last 40 years or so. But what builds this up is processed starches and a lot of the man-made fats, a lot of the trans fats. So the processed starches, like in flour, some of the cornstarch, some of those things, even the whole wheat flour, folks, creates pattern B, and it clogs up your arteries. So, I think you should do your own research and come to your own conclusion. I think you'll find it very interesting that pattern B is becoming more and more the reliable number for determining heart disease. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please email us at sales@personaltrainerfood.com, and we'll try to address your questions. Have a great week, and thank you.